game of basketball has taken us places we can never imagine. From winning 4 EuroLeague titles,
playing 6 years in 5 countries,
and making connections with people from all around the world.
we have stories that can last a lifetime.
I like it.
Now it's time to tell yours.
When I met Michael Jordan for the first time, and still to this day, if I see him, he's glowing.
It just came down to, like I said, looking myself in the mirror like, brother, do you want to play ball or not?
I've never been in an environment like EuroLeague.
Because, living over here in Europe, bro, we kings over this jump, bro.
Right.
Denver Nuggets.
Appreciate y'all having us on here.
Yes, sir. Big time. This is really dope.
This is Hoop Tales.
What up, everybody? We back with another episode of Hoop Tales. My name is Kyle Hines. I got my bro Tyler Hines with me, my guy Mike Martin. And today's episode, we got a double feature for you. We got, our guys, the guys that we grew up with from South Jersey, the Thompson brothers.
Yes, sir.
My guy Jason Thompson, my other guy Ryan Thompson. Welcome, guys. Welcome. Appreciate you. Appreciate you guys coming through.
Appreciate y'all for having us, man. You know what I mean? South Jersey's finest is in the building.
Definitely, baby. Definitely,
Yes, sir.
baby.
Yes,
Jersey royalty. So, to begin with, first of all, how are you guys dealing with the situation right now with COVID-19, and then how is your family also dealing with it as well?
It's been definitely been weird, at this time, depending on, your team, you can still be in the playoffs and advancing and things like that. So to kind of be quarantined in the house, back home in the States, it's weird and try to adjust. Like I said, it's easier said than done, but, it's tough. Your most important thing is your health. As much as you love the game of basketball, how much it has done for you, in our careers, to be in the house, to work out, to run in place, to sometimes go outside, even though that you're not supposed to. It's an adjustment. But like you said, it's better to be healthy and safe than play basketball at this moment.
Same for me. I mean, obviously health, was the biggest, issue, and especially with now having a baby, you kind of had to look at things a little bit more, about them than versus whether I was able to handle, being around people with the sickness and whether I could get it and give it to them and things like that. So we kind of took the aggressive approach to getting out of there as soon as possible, but which kind of took things back is the uncertainty of all contracts, of how the contracts work, and the X's and O's, and nobody really had any answers, whether this goes in favors of the players or do they go in favor of the teams. And that kind of left a lot of questions that guys, wanted answered, but a lot of the teams and stuff were, giving everybody the runaround because I feel like they had an inside on that they were going to have the upper hand. So what it came down to was just, negotiate and try to get, to an agreement as quickly as possible and just try to get out of there and be safe. So it was definitely a shock for me, especially 10 years being home at this point of the year. In 10 years, it's weird for me. Man. Walking outside and it's being cold outside, it's right. Weird for me.
Bro, like I was telling them the same thing when I got home, like, cause I'm so used to being here only during the summer. Like I don't have a jacket. Like I have none of the winter stuff like so. I was outside, bro. I was like, I don't got no sweatpants, I don't got no hoodie, I don't got nothing. Like everything I got here is straight summer attire. So it was super weird to be.
Well, for me, just having a house. For me, having a house is the first time I ever had to turn my heat on. First time ever my heat has been on. It's definitely a little bit weird.
All right, so we definitely got to shout out the GTM Foundation. I know you guys doing a lot of things in the community. Just talk about some of the initiatives and some of the things you're doing now with COVID-19 going on. how you guys are giving back to the community.
For sure. I just knew, even starting from when I first, got to the league and became a pro, I always knew I wanted to give back at some time. So the Thompson Foundation was started with my cousin Tiffany Carroll passing away with heart disease. So I didn't know what subject I wanted to go focus on. But then when she passed away with a certain heart disease, I knew heart health was the main focus. So we've been having, different events with giving back. And as much as that's been the focus, that's where Live Like JT kind of comes into effect because, we do different things throughout the community where, during Thanksgiving, we give out, the turkeys and the turkey drive just like you guys. And then, during Christmas, we do the shopping spree and stuff for the less fortunate kids. And then now during these tough times, we have the, heroes don't always wear capes, but they always wear masks, campaign, which was appreciate you guys for the support with that. And it's been overwhelming too. I mean, the healthcare workers all over the world are putting their lives on the line to try and help, patients, become, better and safer during these tough times, man. So it's a very unfortunate situation. I know worldwide we always see these videos of them, saying how traumatized they are from going in work each and every day, and it's a love that they do. So it's unfortunate, and like you said, if we could do little things by providing lunches for them and just giving them water and support, man. It's the little things that try to help us out and hopefully brings us together. And hopefully this pandemic ends sooner rather than later.
The importance of you doing this with the heroes of healthcare. Your mom used to be a nurse, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So did that kind of like hit home for you guys? Like, that's one of the main reasons why you wanted to, both want to do that.
For sure. I mean, I know. I was just terrified of even going, like, one having an injury or something like that. And I remember when, as a kid, when I was 6, I went and got my tonsils taken out, and everyone, you're so frightened to have surgery at that young age, but I was just hyped because I know my mom was going to be by my side taking care of me. You know what I mean? Which is crazy to think. And then just having that in my mind and stuff like that too. But this is, the stories that she had to go through, when she was young and when we were young, like you said, hit home, and it was just that much more love in that particular, topic. Like you said, she had that job with her when she was, younger.
That's amazing, man. I mean, shout out to your family, your mom and dad and everybody. It doesn't matter what Thompson event is going on. It could be a barbecue, it could be a basketball camp, it could be anything, man. Mr. and Mrs. Thompson, they always, holding it down, the whole family, so shout out to them. So most definitely. We'll jump right into, early life, man. How'd you guys get started with basketball?
Well, I kind of was always on the outside looking in since I was, 2 years younger than Jay, and kind of just watching him grow. It doesn't. It depends on how early you want to go. He was already dribbling the ball before I couldn't even, do much yet. So I kind of was always like, I want to do that. I want to do that. I want to do that. So I kind of had the opportunity to play up in the, the elementary school level and things like that growing up. So it kind of gave me the advantage to play up and, follow the footsteps of him and kind of get an early start in basketball.
I just think, for me, just looking at it, it's crazy how, like, when you have, like, times like these, you can kind of reflect on stuff that happened in the past. And,
Thanks.
you look at, like, all these, like, documentaries of certain players, and they just, speed past, like, the childhood times and middle school times. And, like, middle school was tough, and you win championships, but it wasn't easy. Guys are getting cut, that your best friends, and you don't know how that is to handle that. I go to Lenape and grow 9 inches and go be a guard all my life, and then they were like, yo, play the center. Like, what? You know what I mean? And having to develop that. I'm 190 on paper, but if you look at pictures, I was probably 180, 6'8", like arms as frail as a remote control.
170, bro.
Yeah, exactly. Crazy. But to know that, like, as much as, like, I was trying to, like, adapt, it was going to help me for the long haul. of like developing all those skills. And I could say most importantly, and it wasn't even that we were on the same team, but Rising Stars was kind of like that rock. Like, you know, you're solid in your area, you're doing well, you see your name, you get all the limelight, this and the third, but then when you're playing against guys, you know, on the other side of the bridge in Philly and Delaware, and then guys coming from New York and stuff like that, all coming together, and you playing these guys where in, you know, Mount Laurel, Cherry Hill, whatever, you know, you're going at guys and giving them buckets and stuff, but when you're going in there, guys are being tougher. They're, you know, they have a different type of demeanor to them, and that kind of like, you know, helped us out, you know, with the practices that we had. You know, I never practiced so hard, you know, in certain things. We running when we already know we in shape. You're like, nah, you're never in shape. When it's full court, you're going to be most, you know, conditioned team, right? You know, I mean, we all know because we all played there, you know what I mean? So those type of things helped me out through that time and make a decision to go to Ryder and having that same mindset of trying to be a big fish in a small pond, even though, you know, in the beginning, you're just trying to do things to, even the success you have in high school, you're like, yo, I just want to come in here, fit in, be an energy guy. And then next thing you know, that mindset that we had back then of just keep getting better, keep getting stronger. And like I said, the rest is kind of history when years kept going.
You touched on it a little bit about, you know, especially you, Jay, being a late bloomer, and you know, to a certain extent, Ryan, at the same time. Because, you know, when people don't believe when I tell them that, like, you guys weren't considered the best player on your high school basketball team. And, I mean, you guys, you know, allegedly, I mean, with with accolades and, you know, all that different stuff, you know, so, you know, talk about, like, your growth, you know, over the course of, like, you know, like you said, you know, Ryan, you could talk about a little bit more about, you know, you talk about, you know, you both kind of coming in your own. And I remember you, Jay, like you said, you grew 9 inches within, you know, in high school. And it was a point, I remember it was like, you know, you were tall, but it was like you weren't dunking, you know, people were always like looking at you like, you know, because you were just shooting Jays and stuff like that. So talk about that. And then also talk a little bit more about Leonard P. High School and about, you know, you guys during that 2004 championship run.
Well, for me, more or less, I mean, the way that I look at it now, I wish I would have played more in high school. I didn't really, well, I'm talking varsity-wise, but I didn't really start playing until it was a little bit, I got a little bit of playing time in my sophomore year, but I didn't get to really show what I could do until my junior year. And I kind of, and that's the time when, you know, a lot of colleges are looking at you and scouting. So I kind of had a little chip on my shoulder to, you know, kind of speed up the process because I didn't feel like I had the opportunity to show what I can do my freshman and sophomore year. So I kind of just did whatever I could, you know, in overdrive to be that factor my junior year, going into my last 2 years of high school.
I think for me, it's a blessing in disguise. You know, when I first was there, we had a first-year coach as a freshman. They kind of, at Leonard P, they kind of had a system where, like, you know, even regardless if you're the tallest and the most talented, freshman got to play freshman and then JV, and then sophomore got to kind of like what Ryan was saying. And a situation happened with one of the coaches, and we had the Hall of Fame coach, Billy Ladd, that became the coach my sophomore year, which was, like you said, it's the gift that, you know, God gave us, honestly, because of his way and method. And like I said, he is a person I still talk to this day, Hall of Famer, but there was things that I didn't agree with, like Ryan said. Like, whereas nowadays, if you're a freshman and you're, you know, a sophomore and you're the most talented regardless, you're on the varsity team, hands down. That's what Ryan said. But like you said, his system was a system where it's like kind of like a Popovich in a way where, like, hey, you're going to be here, we're going to develop you, and you're going to be around this winning culture. Are you bought in or not?
Yeah, you got to pay your dues a little bit.
Yeah, so like I said, regardless of me growing those inches during those times and things like that, and then you said I was arguably the best player. Matt Bentley, who won Player of the Year, was at that time, but none of us were 1,000-point scorers, even Craig Peters. You know what I mean? So it was all balanced. But you had one heck of a year where Ryan is coming into his own his sophomore year. I'm a senior. You have 3 guys going D1, and we become undefeated. And during that time, you don't really realize you don't enjoy it. Like, it was so fun and stuff, but it was so much pressure of winning the next game. And then when you're in the playoffs, you have to be undefeated and run the table at this time. You know what I mean? And now, when you're older and a little bit wiser, you look at it, you're like, man, you try to cherish those moments. Hopefully there's film on us and things like that. And people don't understand about the grind. Everyone cares about stats and stuff, which makes sense. But if you have the talent and you're in around a winning atmosphere, college coaches are going to see you anyway. And that's what I'm trying to tell these kids, and I'm sure you guys are as well, of how times have changed, where it's not about, because like you said, a guy can average 25, but how many shots is he taking? What's his field goal percentage? You know what I mean? So it's a certain type of balance. And I think that chip was on our shoulders when we ended up going, to Ryder. And like I said, for me, it was a blessing to have Ryan want to come and play with me in college for 2 years as well, man. You know what I mean? I don't think you can write a script better than that.
Yeah, that's definitely dope. We gotta talk about the good old DeJuan Wagner Rising Stars days, man. I mean, we gotta take it back there. That's where it first started. That's where we all got our exposure and started getting our looks. But just having that good time. I just remember, y'all Team J, you, Sharon Fisher, Al Fisher. Just going down the line, y'all with Kyle, all y'all was stacked, man. And Ryan, we had a nice little squad. We weren't bad. Me, you, Chris Martin, Claire,
Hamidi.
So it was dope. So just talk about a little bit about that, man.
Well, first of all, shout out to Russ Cook.
Big shout.
And DeJuan Wagner for putting us, in those opportunities and situations to, show what we can actually do. It was definitely a blessing for all of us, because that was the first time it was just, taking all the best guys, whether it was NJ All-Stars at the time, and I believe there was one other team. I just don't remember the name, but that's where all the, top guys were going, and he kind of just gave us the opportunity to showcase ourselves at the highest level.
And like I said, shout out to Uncle Russ. But I mean, I would say for me, humbly, how we grew up, I didn't really have shoes. As much as I kept growing physically, my feet kept growing too. So the first consistent basketball shoes I had was from Russ.
Same here.
Stars and stuff like that. So. But like I said, I mean, there's tons of learning experiences on the court, like you said, with how we worked. There's times where we have crazy practices and then we're running for, suicides and 17s and stuff. And as a kid, you're not really understanding it.
Selling the candy bars too.
When you running, you think running is just, it wasn't to get in shape. And like I said, you don't really know how you're getting better and learning from the competition that you're playing. I think it all I know it humbled me and humbled us all, where, you're going in there, you have a loaded squad, especially for the area that we were all from. And obviously we all want to take 10 to 15 shots and things like that, but we all did the little things, to get notoriety, to be successful. And like I said, I mean, shout out to DeJuan Wagner for sponsoring us. I mean, the messiah of South as well, man. To see the success, that he has had. And I remember even a small story when we was in one of, I think it wasn't the Nationals or the Regionals or something like that. And it was the day DeJuan's draft day. And we're all in there, man. We was in this hotel. I don't know what hotel it was, but we made sure we was going to get to the TV. The TV might have been the size of the cell phone, We was going to make sure we supported. I just remember being that day and having that feeling, man. It was just like, dreams do come true, man, for people and for people in our area. Because not too many people in our area, had that type of success that high success. So like you said, it gave you a lot of motivation going into practices and eventually when we got to the next level.
I think one thing it did too is that just seeing that, because Dewan was not only a star in South Jersey, he was a star nationally. He was huge. So for him to, he didn't have to sponsor our team. He didn't have to come back and sponsor our AU team. So like when I see him do that, it was like, man, like if I ever get an opportunity, like I have to come back, because he did, like he kind of set that very thing in motion for us. And I think that's the main reason, like, we'll talk about that later, but that's one of the main reasons why, like, we give back to the community and why, we have all this stuff. I think him and Uncle Russ and Dewan, they definitely, and with Worldwide West as well, definitely put, all of that kind of in place for us to lay the footprints for us to be successful and then pass it down to other kids.
All right, let's jump into Ryder, man. We'll start with Jason. What ultimately led you to choosing Ryder? And Ryan, did you kind of make this decision at the same time as Jason, or did you kind of see how his first couple years went to make that decision for yourself?
Well, one, I feel like during that time, there wasn't a thing where you wanted to kind of have stacked teams, where, like the RJ Barrett and the Zion were going to go to Duke and then, and all those guys. So I felt like our team we could have for sure played at high D1 schools, but we all, I think at that time, were being recruited by those mid-majors D1s. And I remember us kind of all, like you said, getting recruited by the same type of teams. And I knew that Kyle went to Greensboro, Sharon said Niagara, Al was going to Siena, and then, like I said, there was still some more Central Connecticut and Ryder and stuff like that. And I was just looking, and I was just like, all right, I see how guys are finding ways to make a name for ourselves and pick our own thing. So I remember I went to Ryder for my recruitment trip, and the craziest thing is like what happened. And like I said, it's not even that long of a story, but it's like going on a recruiting trip. We have like Midnight Madness and all that type of stuff. We go on, it's the pre-party before the whole thing. And like, people got shot and trampled at the event. Just imagine, like, my mom and my dad like waking up and like, oh,
that's crazy.
I was out like Usain Bolt. Like, I was out.
Oh, that's just crazy.
Thinking and like looking at the history of that school, I'm like, man, I knew it wasn't a thing where it actually, happens consistently on that campus and stuff like that. But just for me, like to be close to home and still being D1, like I said, I think that was the decision that I wanted to go with, and I knew that I would be able to play against my guys as well too.
For me, it was definitely in the back of my mind, but for a while it was like, all right, paint your own path, go to a different school, and then the relationship me and Jay had is just like, damn, this would be dope if we're on the same team. We can get to the NCAA tournament and just things that we always talk about growing up. So that kind of weighed in the back of my mind, and getting late into my recruitment, well, I actually ended up committing my junior year. It was the time where I actually was going to end up signing and going to George Mason. And at the time, this is when they went to that, had that Final Four run. So that's kind of where, and I just had my visit there, and that was where I narrowed it down to. It ended up being George Mason, Drexel, and Ryder. Drexel, I didn't really want the city campus. I kind of wanted to just, live on campus, and, that's just how I visualized it at the time. But it's just, being closer to home, playing in front of, family all the time, and definitely having your big brother there to play with, against, and, compete with him at one of the highest levels. And that kind of trumped everything. Once I went there and just saw the campus life with him there, and just being free, and obviously having him there as a safety net in the beginning years, definitely helped a lot for me, in development.
Definitely. I mean, Ryder's right up the street. So were you pulling up like when you was a junior? Was you pulling up with the
Yeah,
I mean, I feel like I went up there twice. I kind of try to keep my distance, let him enjoy. Like when he first left, I'm just like, all right, he left the nest, so just let him, do his own thing. I'll see him at all the games and things like that. But I didn't really go up too much on the weekends, and plus I was younger.
True.
So I couldn't.
Was
anything.
When y'all was in school, was like it? How often was your parents? I know your mom is like really like big and like y'all like no matter how old y'all are, your mom was like every mom, but y'all mom was like y'all are babies. So it's like how often was your mom and your parents kind of like pulling up like just to the school, and how often were you going up?
What's crazy is like, all right, during the times when we did have a break, we would go home. I'm not sure if that was for everybody, especially because you guys were farther. I know Sharon being Niagara, Al and CNN and you Greensboro, but like for me, that 30 minutes felt like it was long, like
forever.
During college time, I swear, like during that time, especially like when I wasn't going there that much, and then you the same people aren't there, like your friends and stuff, everyone's away. It just felt like it was like going to Buffalo or something like that. Like, man,
so far going out 295.
Because like you said, I would even tell them to like meet halfway. Like Morgantown, which is still only 2
We would.
But because I think in my mind too is like having those flashbacks would make you like they would reel you in to stay like longer and just be like there, and I'm like, yo, like I gotta live my years. So I mean, it's good to have that support system and things like that. But like you said, at times it's overwhelming, and at times it feels like it's farther. But actually, like you said, it's only 20, 30 minutes, which is crazy.
And they were at every home game, no matter what.
That's part of it.
The closer away games, they would take, weekend trips and all that, but they were there.
Now, for both of you, and we'll start with Jay, because you're the older brother. When did you start feeling like, that you would start getting national attention? And we talk about your stats a little bit. After your junior season, you were one of 3 players that averaged 20 and 10. Then, after your senior season, you were MAC Player of the Year. When did you start kind of like realizing that you could possibly play for money, that you could do this professionally? And then when was kind of like almost like the NBA kind of like, on your radar during your time at Ryder?
Which is crazy is that like my sophomore year, they had a thing in our conference like called like the MAC All-Stars or something like that. And we ended up playing like the junior national team in China and Shanghai Sharks and all this type of thing. And I think it was like right after like Yao had gone to the league or whatever. But like you said, it had to have been Yi and all them had to have been on that team. Like I said, it was crazy to even know if they were or not.
Yeah.
But like I said, I was one of the youngest ones there. Everyone was like juniors, seniors, and I was like the only young in there. Like lost my luggage, everything. Like it was crazy. Like they messed up, and this is like my first time kind of being abroad, and I had no other teammates while everybody else had other teammates. And to even bring that story up, it was like Passos, who was the coach at Loyola, Louisiana, or whatever, Jimmy Passos. Like I ended up leading in scoring, and like I had my birthday there, and it was like one of the worst trips like overall that I had. But I just like locked in basketball wise, and was just like going at cats as the youngin'. You know what I mean? And like you said, we went undefeated, led in scoring, and there was no like animosity from like a senior or junior. Like, yo, this youngin's taking all the shots. You're like, nah, this youngin's all right. Like he gonna, you know what I mean? He gonna be the face of the league at some point in the MAC. And then, like you said, I took that confidence in to the next season. Had Ryder come in. Like I said, I even told people too that I was thinking about transferring which is crazy. The year before Ryder got there, we only won like 10 games, which is crazy. I don't even know how I even survived that. Thinking of like the mentality that I had. And then, like I said, I started going to LeBron's Skills Academy and my junior year, and was holding my own. And then when I was going into my senior year, I went there, and then I went to the Amari Skill Academy, where it was like the best bigs in the country. And then like that's where when I was holding my own, going against guys, getting buckets and stuff like that, that's when there started becoming more of a buzz. Our games were sold out like hours before people. I mean, I never seen like the stuff that was going on that campus that it never did. Like people was tailgating, like it was like a football game or something like that. Like it was going crazy. But like I said, during that time, I never really got to kind of enjoy the ride, even though we were having winning streaks and going crazy and getting all these accolades and stuff. It was just more of the grind, because like you said, if you ever get a big-headed mind on that, then you can lose focus and then mess things up, because like you said, you don't know who's watching virtually. You know, we had, you know, at least 10 NBA scouts at pretty much every game. I mean, they was even watching, you know, Ryder, and at that time being a youngin and stuff like that. And I was trying to tell these guys, while being the leader of the team, to get wins. You know, so then it started becoming that. And unfortunately, which I was even going to bring up earlier, is that Ryder got a concussion, you know, in the quarterfinals while we were rolling. And I got us to the championship. But you know, it was a lot of injuries. He was out. Once he was, and it was crazy, you know, being the big bro, I see him on the ground, and I'm like, man, get up, man. Get up. Like, come on, man. And I asked him, where's he at? And he was like, yeah, we in Jersey when we was in Albany. I was like, damn.
Somebody go get him.
I was like, damn, he ain't gonna come back, man. It's a wrap.
I was trying everything for them to let me play again, and they was like, nah.
That concussion protocol, it was
I got elbows.
I mean, he was second in scoring and top in every other category. I mean, you know, once that happened, I mean, like I said, I got to the chip, man. But it's just unfortunate, man. So
who y'all lose to in the chip that year?
Siena. Was, yeah, they were stacked. I mean, they had Hasbrook, Clarence, Ronald Moore, a couple of dudes that won Player of the Year years after. So, like, Fran's, I mean, you know, Fran's coaching, man, and his style of play, just how everyone locked in. Ubelis, I mean, this squad was crazy.
Yeah, it did.
That was good.
But we smacked them, though, we smacked them in the season twice.
I swear, I was gonna transfer to Siena. Like the only reason why I didn't want to transfer is because number one, Siena was super cold, and then number two, I didn't want to sit out. I didn't want to sit out a year, but like Fran was like, he was like, yo, you want to go? And I was set ready to go, but I was like, I just couldn't sit out a year. But afterwards, I was like, man, like it would have been dope to play like against like U2, to play against the Rons, to be like in that conference, like.
Y'all would have been a problem. They was a problem. Yeah, they would have been a problem.
That'd have been fun, bro. That would have been super fun. What about you, Ryder? So when like during your college career that you start realizing, obviously, you know, you seeing, you know, all the things that Jace is doing, but like when did you start realizing that, like, you know, I can do this professionally, I can, you know, make money, you know, playing this game?
It was once he left, the coach at the time, Tommy Dempsey, brought me in and was like, a lot of the guys, you know, were here looking at Jay, but, you know, they definitely have their eye out for you. And we had a tournament in, what was it like? It was like a Cancun Invitational. And he was like, yeah, there's a lot of these scouts calling, saying that they're interested in you and being able to, you know, play at the next level. So, but for me, it was tough because I was the junior, and we had a lot of, at the time, like our captain was a senior, so they were, you know, they had their little, you know, core group. So it was, at first, it came in as, you know, this guy's, you know, trying to take my shine, things like that. But because we bumped heads. My junior year, there was a lot of us bumping heads, and it was tough. And we had a solid year, but numbers wise, everything was good. But my senior year, going into it, like everything was focused on me. So it was, my numbers went down. We had a solid year still, but at the same time, going forward after that, I got invited to the Portsmouth in which I ended up leading in scoring also.
Yeah.
And while I was there, I had a personal meeting with, Danny Ferry. So it was like, all right, this is, really something that might happen. I worked out for every team except 4, and had high hopes of, getting drafted, but it just didn't work out.
All right, so we'll go back to Jay real quick. Let's talk about that draft night, man. The draft night process, where you guys are at, what that feeling was to come out of South Jersey and be selected in the lottery.
Yeah, man, it's overwhelming to say the least. The night before, I worked out for the Nets and Knicks together, and then I picked up one of the suits that was going to be at the hotel that hosted the draft. So saying that is, I stayed at home for the draft. I didn't get pretty much invited, but then I had Comcast and I had ESPN come to the Ryder and then come to the crib. That next day I ended up doing a interview with the Sixers, which was a solid story as well. Being at home and stuff. But that whole day just seemed like it was forever. Honestly, I mean, everywhere you went, you go down the street and people was out there, and you could just tell the nerves of everyone. Humbly, all the TVs in my parents' crib is on the channel. Like, I can't hear it and stuff. And, them asking all the questions and stuff. And like you said, for people that know or don't know, I mean, the way you kind of know is from, at the time, David Stern coming up to the podium and finding out if you're going to be, drafted. So I just remember being in the kitchen with my agent at the time, Andre Buck, and it was Jared Bayless was 11, and right after that, there's 5 minutes in between, and he, all his texts started going crazy, and he was just like, "Yo, congrats!" And at the time, I mean, the only person he was pretty much representing was me. So I'm like, what you mean? He kept bumping me. I'm like, yo, what's wrong with you, man? Relax. And I think. So we just all turned and looked at David Stern, in the living room, we at the crib. And, he said, with the 12th pick, Sacramento Kings select Jason Thompson. I mean, like I said, it was crazy. You hear, I hug Ryder with just a lot of emotion. My mom, my grandparents, everyone. I go outside to get some air, and they going crazy in the streets. It was memorable, man. And then, like you said, it's not even open anymore. It's like a chicken and peas now. But we all called a random limo service, went to Champs and celebrated. And like I said, I couldn't even get inside. It took me an hour and a half to get inside. So I can't imagine just with people just waiting. It was just media. And like I said, it was unexpected. I didn't know that they knew I was going to be there and stuff like that. So it was an overwhelming experience and blessed. And like I said, just all the hard work that you put in paid off. And it was just something that you won't forget.
Ryan, how'd you feel, man? I know how to feel like you got drafted too. That's big bro, that's family. So
it was the craziest thing, because the part where I've heard it a lot, where he kind of got the nudge, but I had no idea. So we're over here. It was me, Russ, and I believe my mom. We were taking a shot for every pick.
Take me to the head.
Me and Uncle Russ taking shots. I'm like, man. And Uncle Russ looked at me and said, "I don't think I'm gonna make it. you better go soon, because I ain't gonna make it." Once hearing it, it's just looking over, and he has this look on his face, which was pure happiness, and we just hugged, and it just felt like everything worked out as it was supposed to.
That's what's up. Jay, how was that transition going from South Jersey to Sacramento now? Now you're in the league. So how was that whole transition? And
Well, it was the first time I ever been in. Well, second time I ever been in Cali. We played Cal State Northridge in the bracket buster. In college, but we were only there for like 2 days, so it was just an adjustment. Which one adjustment was great because of the all year warm weather in Cali,
Right.
which I was definitely not mad about. But then you're going into a city where it's only that team and that sport, which I'm kind of used to. Which in my college at Ryder, we're not having a football team and stuff like that. So, like I said, that adjustment was somewhat similar. Obviously, when you're a lottery pick, you're going to a team that's has been struggling. Right when that happened, there was a huge trade too. So we had like all young guys and shipped out our vets. So for that, the basketball experience was good. And like I said, I played solid, did my thing with a draft class that was crazy too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, which was one of the top in the NBA history. With D Rose and Beasley and the list goes on of all those guys. But like I said, it was tough because, like I said, as a team, had the coach fired mid-season. I think we only won like 17 or 18 games, so it's just tough to balance because I was just so used to winning. But then, like you said, you're living your dream and you're getting paid to play basketball. So it's just like you have to find the balance of like, you're blessed, but you want to win too. So it was tough on that aspect. But like I said, you still live the dream.
Right.
What was like your during your first rookie year? All of us have like a fan moment, like on the court or in basketball, whatever. Who was that player that like when that checked in or that you played against? He was like oh shit, that's that guy, you kind of like had to check yourself a little bit. Who was that person?
I would say Kobe, honestly.
Yeah.
And rest in peace to him,
Definitely.
his daughter Gigi. But I would say him, just being from this area locally, and then him being an Eagles fan and all those type of things, and him being in the division. We played him 4 times, twice at the Staples and twice there. The games, super crazy. Like I said, I'm so stubborn when it comes to like certain stuff like that because I've seen my teammates like in the media give praise to guys, which I give praise all the time. But I feel like even if they don't read it, one of their coaches or people are going to show like, yo, the player you about to go against is giving you crazy praise. They might not be shook, but go at them a little bit. You know what I mean? And I never wanted to show weakness when it came to that, but I always show respect before the game, sometimes during, and even after the game as well. And like I said, I had some moments where we was talking at times and in interviews. He was saying that it's the future of the team and good luck. So like I said, just to have him talk about me and mention me in ways like that, man, is a great feeling. You watching a guy on the tube. And then actually being on the court, playing against him and competing against him is a different feeling.
Cool. Ryan, let's talk about your process coming out of school, coming out of college, 2010 draft. What were your expectations? Do you expect to get picked up? And
as soon as the draft was over, got called from the Jazz and went to the Jazz for training camp. Made it through the whole, the cut process up until the last day. It was actually the day before we were going to play the Kings in preseason, and I broke my ankle.
Damn.
And everything just came crumbling down because everything was going well. It seemed like a good fit, and everything was, positive mentality. Actually talked to Jerry Sloan. Everything, was seeming, positive going forward. Broke my ankle, then had to go through the process of, rehabbing and going to the D-League. And that was a gut shock for me because that was the first time I ever was cut. from anything.
Mm-hmm.
And battling through that mentally and getting through the thought of, you know, they don't want you, kind of, you know, was hard to get over for a while. So I played maybe after rehab and all that, I probably played like a half month in the D League, which I didn't enjoy the D League, you know, at all. Plus, it was my first year doing the D League, and, you know, coming off of a serious injury, you know, you're trying to work yourself back in, and I feel like that wasn't the best situation for me to go in, you know, trying to get back to the game and trying to put myself in a great situation. But every situation, you know, is different for everybody. And then I kind of just went with the mentality of, you know, maybe it's time to, you know, give up this dream after, you know, years of summer league and doing that and trying to get picked up and doing training camps and things like that. Once it finally didn't work out after, you know, 2 or 3 summers, I'm like, all right, you know, it's time to start focusing in on Europe and really, you know, take a serious look at that. And that's kind of where it led me.
Talk a little bit more about your experience in Utah and just kind of going through like that whole training camp process. And, you know, obviously, you know, Jerry Sloan is a Hall of Fame legendary coach. So talk about your experience with him. And like you said, it's going through that whole entire process, and elaborate more like but for people that don't know what life in the G League, or at the time was the D League, called, like what's that life like that, you know, during that time you spent, and how much of a grind it is?
Well, I mean, starting earlier, you know, getting, you know, praise from, you know, Jerry Sloan, who's, you know, Hall of Famer. And at the time it was Jeff Hornacek was the assistant coach. And that was the same year, you know, Gordon Hayward came out, and it was Jeremy Evans. And we had a nice group going. And we were the only 3 rookies. It was also Demetrius Nichols was there for training camp, and Otheus Jeffers. And we were all, you know, battling for one spot. And getting the positive, you know, feedback from, at the time, Rajah Bell, Al Jefferson, going to his house. I kind of felt like I was part of the team. So once, you know, I broke my ankle, it just felt like my whole world, you know, crumbled in front of me. And I really didn't know how to handle it or knew what the next steps were, because I never really dealt with the feeling of being cut from a team, and it definitely hit home for me mentally. Right. And as far as the D League, for me, it felt like it was college all over again. You know, you're rooming with guys. The travel situation wasn't the greatest. You know, the pay was not good. I mean, I had fortunately signed for training camp, so money wasn't as, you know, as drastic. But being one of the guys that was definitely on the team, even though I was rehabbing, seeing so many guys in and out, it was just like a day-to-day process. It was tough to develop any relationships with anybody, because the next day they might not be there, and it's not like you get a phone call or this. It's just all of a sudden they're moving their stuff out and just like, yeah, I got cut. And it's definitely tough mentally and physically, because it's a grind, because everybody is trying to fight for the limited spots, and sometimes you have no control over it, because if there's a guy that's on assignment that's coming down to your team. And at my time, it was Pop C, who was drafted by the Atlanta Hawks. And it's like, all right, well, we want him to play. So anybody at that position is just not playing, because they're playing the whole game. So that was another, you know, gut check that I had to deal with. And it was just a lot that I had to go through mentally to, you know, battle through and get through it. But now, I mean, they're doing a great job of the development of the new G League, and you know, upping the money. So it's just more of a incentive for guys to stay home instead of having to, you know, go overseas.
We can channel back over to you, Jay. I know at one point in time you you were the Kings' all-time leader in games played in your career. Tell us, a little bit about that. You started, you found a home in SAC. You were there for a while. You ended up becoming not just a rookie anymore. You ended up becoming a vet. So, how was that whole experience and everything from there?
Yeah, it was a crazy situation. Like I said before, in my first, rookie year, we didn't, as a team, do so well. The coach got fired, and then I had an interim coach, then eventually, in those 8 years, I never had the same coach for 2 seasons. So I've had 8 coaches in 8 years. Reggie Theus, Kenny Knapp, Paul Westphal, Keith Smart, Mike Malone, Tyrone Corbin, George Carl.
Jeez. That's
Right,
crazy.
man. The fact you got to think about it, though.
Musselman?
No. So it might have been 7. I don't know. I think I forgot something, but you're definitely crazy. Like I said, I've never been with the same system of a coach in an organization, which is crazy. It's one thing if I go from team to team and stuff. So like I said, I ended up signing a 5-year deal, and which was another blessing. Once I got drafted, I was never just satisfied with just being on the team. I wanted to beat the average of 4 to 5 years, and it's tough. I mean, I think in my career, I had the most teammates in a short span of an organization in history as well. I think also it was a thing where I had the most games where I never had been to the playoffs. Played, which these are all things that are tough mentally, wise, because like you said, you're still blessed, and you try to get advice from people, and they're like, "Yo, you're playing in the best league in the world, and you're making tons of money. Be quiet." But like in my mindset is that it doesn't work like that. It's like, I want to win and do what I love at the highest level. So those things were tough for sure. Like you said, 8 straight years now making the playoffs with the same team was tough as well. And like I said, and then becoming a vet with not the same type of core. Like we had a core for a certain amount, didn't work out, and I was still there. And the rest is history with other teammates that will remain nameless of the relationships they had with the organization as well. But like I said, I mean, it's a blessing to be. That's why I messed up. I said 8 coaches, but I was in SAC for 7 years, so I had 7 coaches in 7 years. All right, so I knew I was right. So I had 10 coaches in 7 years, and then. For people that some know, got traded to the Sixers, then went to Golden State, and then finished my year in Toronto that year, going to the playoffs for the first time, which was a blessing as well. Ended up losing to LeBron and the Cavaliers that year, who ended up winning the championship. So you lose to the team that wins the championship in the Eastern Conference Finals. That's not a bad thing. So it was a blessing. I'm glad that I finally was able to play in the playoffs and do something I always wanted to do.
So circle back a little bit. Circle back to like the moment when you got traded to Philly, for that week or 2 week period where you was like, I remember we talked about it. We was like, everybody
came to the phone.
Everybody was hyped. They was like, Jay back home. So like, talk about like, that period, like, the dream of possibly playing for your hometown team, and then literally, I'm sure it was bittersweet for you getting traded to the Golden State Warriors, where it was the hottest team, in the NBA in the world at the time. So talk about like those, like that, whatever that.
It was tough. Y'all might get the exclusive. Technically, I was in SAC at that time during the off season. For my annual camp. And so Ryder and even Tone and Kenny and all them was there. So we all had been in the house all week and stuff like that. And then I see the news happen. And I remember being on the phone with my agent before the news broke out, and he was like, "Yeah, you're getting traded to Philly." I'm like, "Man, stop playing with me." Like, what? And I did, and once I knew, I was like walking around like where I live at, like in the development and stuff. So like when they found out, they didn't even know where I was at. Like Ryan and they was like, "Yo, where's Jay?" Like, so I'm like walking, trying to reminisce, like, yo, like 7 years, yo, and then I'm going to my hometown. This is crazy. You know what I mean? So, like you said, it was a lot of emotions at that time. You know, the Sixers weren't that good. They were definitely in the midst of the trusted process. So it wasn't a thing like that. But in my mind, it's like, dang, like I'm going to my hometown team, but you're going to a team that I'm going from a losing team to another losing team at the time, with a winning mindset. And then, like you said, you go to a team that had just won the championship, which was crazy news too, which goes back to what I said on draft day, where you kind of, everyone sees stuff on the bottom ticker, but as the player, you find out maybe right then and there, either the bottom ticker or from my agent. My agent had told me, and the next thing you know, ESPN posted, and it's going crazy. I'm out to eat. And people in the restaurant, I'm like, yo! I'm like, yo! My phone was on silent, so I didn't even get no, you know what I mean? So, you know, like I said, that situation is what it was, you know, being tough where, you know, you're used to playing, you know, 30-plus minutes, and, you know, you have to find a way. And like I said, that's a time where I never really not played major minutes on the team. So that was an adjustment. I would say I would have done stuff differently of how I would have handled the situation, you know, me now being more mature and stuff like that too. Being able to sacrifice if I wanted to win. Because like you said, sometimes as a player, you work so hard to get there, but you know how hard you work in the off season to be able to want to do things when it's limited of how to win. And like I said, being on a team that wasn't used to winning, I wasn't used to that. And then, like I said, got an opportunity in Toronto, and then started a lot of games, and then played solid minutes in the playoffs and stuff. It just was, you know, Dwayne Casey gave me a great opportunity during that same season, man. And I was just blessed to be able to, you know, play my game, shoot out, you know, do things that I'm capable of doing, which was a blessing. And Toronto was a great, you know, city as well.
That's dope. It was crazy, man. I remember we're gonna talk about Golden State. I remember when you came to Philly, you had that event with your foundation, man. It was so dope. Even though, you know, you may have not been at Golden State for that long, how they all embraced you, man. Everybody came to your event at Del Frisco's. You know, you had Steph there. The whole squad was there. Klay Thompson. And the dope thing about it, everybody was mingling. Everybody was talking, man. They were supporting you, the whole team. So I thought that was dope, man. I really thought that was
For
dope.
sure. And the crazy thing is how you say that is like, that's something I wasn't used to in SAC, like with the team, because no teammates were there significantly amount. So I remember when I was just so focused on doing that event and then, you know, saying, hey guys, if you want to come, but like, instead of being like, hey, yo, can you guys come? Like, you know, they were already like, yo, man, we love to support you and everything you do. You know what I mean? So to see that and for them to be there, you know, during that time, like you said, speaks volumes, because it's something I never really dealt with at that level, especially when, you know, we were the, you know, best team in the world, you know, at the time as well. So I was blessed for them to, like you said, support me during those times.
That's dope. That's dope.
I want to take it back. I got a quick question about your early days in SAC. Who was that vet that kind of took you under their wing and kind of showed you what it meant and what it was like to be in the league? And then moving forward later on in your career, did you pay that back to anybody? Who was that young rookie or young player that you taught the game to?
100% was Francisco Garcia. Great guy, you know. DR lives in, you know, from New York as well too, man, and really just showed me, because at the time he had just signed a deal and then had an unfortunate injury, with his wrist and things like that. But he was just telling me, man, of just like trying to stay focused and humble. And it's so hard to do, when, like you said, you're in the limelight, you're in a city where it's just, just the team and no other major sports. Being able to save your money, being able to make smart and wise decisions. And like I said, I haven't talked to him, recently, but before, we used to talk, all the time, man. And he knows how much I appreciated him for helping me out during those times because, like you said, he didn't have to do that. And I definitely became more mature and learned a lot from him and made wise decisions from talking to him a lot and him kind of paving the way, for us young rooks at the time.
And then to flip it, like I said, who was that young player when you became a vet with SAC? Was there any one player that came in that you kind of did the same to?
Or? I don't know. It's so crazy because I was like the vet, like there, because like, you know what I mean, just being there for so long. So if anything, it was like, yo, like a lot of the guys would just come to me and just talk. So it wouldn't be anyone in particular, I could say. It would just be like, yo, Jay, you know the city, where places to eat, where places I could take my family to. You have your stuff together, man. What ways did you want to do? And like I said, I'm always an open book. I never thought that, you always think you're going to be young. So when you become a vet, man, you don't ever want to be old. So you start calling me vet. I'm like, dang, I remember in 2008, 2009, I was a rookie. No facial hair and everything. So I'm like, nah, but yeah, I mean, it's good. And like I said, I use that to get back, and I'm still doing that with the camps and things like that when I'm trying to teach these kids that is so much different. I'm so glad that I didn't play as a kid in the social media era, honestly.
Same.
I mean, it's the gift and the curse, because I think that, the views and things, because like I said, one kid scores 20 points against a solid team, you think he's going to be a top 5 recruit and pick. You know what I mean?
Right.
When we had to go in the VHS job for us and had to go like this.
Check it Hoop Scoop online and see where you
right.
Hoop Scoop for sure.
See where you rate.
Like,
Everybody had the same password.
TC and J. Where am I ranking at?
Exactly. I go up, not go down.
That's the truth.
And it's crazy. They really made us play. Like, how you gonna be trying to see who the top player is, and they had us playing outside?
Yeah, facts.
But I mean, at the time, it was good. We young.
We
playing on the black. So I'm like, come on, yo.
Yeah, we didn't even think about it. Now, to circle back to you, Ryan. Now, like you said, you finished up in the G League, and you decided to go overseas. Your first stop was Italy. What was your feelings about, like, when you first got that contract offer? How did that come about? And were you nervous about going overseas? Because up to that point, like, did you know anybody that played overseas? Like, what did you necessarily know about overseas basketball?
At the time, I was very excited, seeing the offer, because that was the first real money I was getting at the time. So I was just like, yeah, where do I sign? I honestly had no idea about Italy or what I was getting myself into, or, the different first division, second division. I had no idea. Never been out the country. Well, Cancun, other than Cancun, never been out the country. So getting on that plane and landing and not being able to see anything in English kind of was just the first gut shot. I was just like, oh, because you just assume everybody knows how to speak English. It's just how us Americans are. It's just when you first go over there, you just assume everybody knows English. And going up to one person, to ask a question and them looking at me like I was crazy was the reason I was just like, all right, well, this is real now. And it took me a while to get, used to the lifestyle and being away from home, and especially doing it alone. is definitely a lot tougher than, you know, having your family there with you and going through the process of it.
How did your first season go? You talked about kind of like the initial culture shock, but was it what you expected? And then how long did it take you to kind of make that transformation from, you know, American style basketball to European style basketball?
Well, my first game, I probably had about 15 turnovers just off of putting the ball down. And the thing that was crazy about it is they never explained it to me. Throughout training camp, throughout, you know, preseason games, I'm doing the same rip through, going, scoring the basketball. And then all of a sudden, they're like, oh, after the first game where I look like I'm crazy, they're like, oh, well, you got to learn how to put the ball. Like, why wouldn't you tell me this?
Right.
I thought all the rules were the same, and it definitely took me a while to get used to it, especially being a guard and a slasher and somebody that, you know, likes to rip dribble a lot. That was probably the toughest thing for me. And I only had one other American, Lee Meyer Goldwire.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a group of guys to talk to. It was just me and one other. So if you guys aren't getting along, it's just like you're on your own.
Right. I know what the year you won the championship, what team was that?
Ostend.
Okay, Ostend, yeah, because I remember this is when I think might have been my first year playing and seeing your Facebook and all that. It seemed like, you know, y'all are very close as a family and the teammates, and I see you used to hang out with one of the other vets from over there too.
Yeah. That was my first. I think Belgium was my first family atmosphere type country.
Right.
And going off of Italy, it was just me and this other guy. You know what I mean? Me and Lee Meyer. So it was just like nothing from the outside. But once I got to Belgium, you can have 4 Americans. So it was like I would go to the Americans' families, you know, for dinner. It was the Tofi family. They would, you know, host Thanksgiving and, you know, all the events and try to keep everybody together. And it kind of just made it a lot easier. And that was the first year I was just like, all right, well, this is more like it. If everything's like this, I can do this.
Yeah, that's dope.
No, Jay was you know, he's in the league where he's taking L's, and then you over in Belgium winning championships. and then next year you go to Germany with a championship. Talk about like your championship experiences. Like, you know, did you ever kind of throw that at him? Like, look, like, I mean, I'm over here with the
I swear, I feel like we're always on opposite. Like, where it was a long stretch where he was killing and I'm struggling, so I'm complaining with him. And literally, like right when everything starts going good for me, that's when he's losing. And it's just like we're never on the same path, but at the same time, it's just like those 2 years tying together, and especially Bamberg, which I, you know, loved, and especially, you know, with Kyle also playing there, kind of just made it easier for me to make the decision to go there. But winning back-to-back championships and a cup just kind of was just like, all right, well, this is where it's going to take off from there. But it just, you know, kind of stalled out on me. I mean, I didn't, you know, keep rising, you know, with the certain levels, and I kind of just plateaued to the, you know, playing Euro Cup and all that. I gave the opportunity. I was given the opportunity to play EuroLeague for, you know, a few months, but, you know, the situation I was in just didn't work out.
What was life like in Belgrade when you decided to play for Red Star? You know?
The city, the atmosphere there was hands down probably the best. It was just tough. That was my first coach where he didn't speak English. So getting off the plane, I went, you know, late September. Or no, it was early September, and, you know, walking into a situation where a lot of your point guard doesn't really speak English and your coach doesn't speak English. So you have an assistant coach, you know, following you around, telling you what he's saying, but you don't really know if he's actually translating what he's saying. He might just say like, all right, well, he just said, go back door, or shoot a jump shot. He just kind of always threw me for a loop, and that was that was another culture shock for me because it was me. I was the only American at the time. Gal McKell was one of my teammates, but you know he's from Europe, and Big Sofa was my teammate.
Big Sofa.
Big Sofa. Shout out to Big Sofa.
So you like I said, you've been in I think it's 9 teams or 8 teams in 10 seasons or something like that, or something around those lines.
Yep. Yeah.
So
9 teams. I only did one 2-year contract with them.
So you like I said, Belgium, Germany, Turkey, Serbia, now Israel. What has been your favorite place? Your favorite place that you played at? And then what has been the most challenging place?
For me, I would just say as a whole, I love the country of Germany. Germany was very Americanized, and it definitely. I wish Germany would have been my first stop after leaving the States because it's easier transition to get used to the life in Europe. And my toughest was for sure Turkey because there's a lot of things, you know, contractually that you can't control and whether teams pay and whether they don't pay and things like that. And I wish I would have knew more about, you know, the situation of getting paid on time and when you have to get paid before I made the decision to go there. And now I have a lot more insight.
And wasn't that that team? That was the team that was close to Syria, right? Or some?
No. We were pretty far from that area. But
okay.
Definitely a very old-fashioned city where, you know, you go into a city where everybody's covered. You just see everybody's eyes, and that definitely was another culture shock for me because, you know, you really didn't communicate with, you know, too many people.
That's crazy.
All right, Jay. So we know you was playing in the league. You know, it's tough to actually see Ryder play in person. You remember that first game when you actually got a chance to go see him play? And did that help you, you know, as you transition from the NBA to Europe?
Yeah, it was dope. Like you said, just with how the scheduling and stuff like that, and then having to, you know, be in California and then come home and then try to find times to see when I could be able to go see him play. But eventually I did the year when he was in Bamberg, and it was crazy because like I think I went there and it was the first round of the playoffs, and I knew some of his teammates at the time, but the crazy thing is he set me up at halftime. I'm all like dressed out, jeans and all this type of stuff. they come out at halftime and like, yo, you gotta go against this person and shoot. I'm like, yo, I just had dinner. I had a couple of drinks. I don't know you know, it was because we sitting courtside and then he just came out of nowhere and like grabbed me and was like, yo, you gotta shoot. I'm like, what? Thank God I won though, because the person I went up against is out of shape and everything. I'm like, I'm about to be embarrassed all in Germany. But it was definitely a dope feeling. It was I think it was one of the first times I had ever even been in the country as well. So to see him, he played great, got the dub, and I think that's the year that they won the championship. So it was he had seen me play a few times when he was in college, and then he came during the holidays and stuff. So for that to be the first time for me, it was a long time coming. But eventually, now I try to still play, and I try to find ways. I went to go see him play in last year, and then this year I saw him play in Israel. So it's always good to see my bro playing and continuing to play well and do the sport that he loves.
So, how was that transition after you left the NBA? Your first stop was China, right?
Yeah. I mean, well, one out of the reason why, I mean, like you said, I had certain offers to go back, and then I seen the transition of how guys were, you know, playing well out there, and I was seeing the situations, and Pooh Jeter, who was one of my former teammates in Sacramento, was on that team. And I'll never forget, I had signed and everything, and the day before I'm about to leave to play abroad the first time, he calls me and like, yo, man, I didn't sign back. They signed someone else. Like, what? Kidding me? And it was just crazy because, like you said, I mean, it's not there. It's just, you know, business of basketball, man, and business a lot of things. It's real cutthroat. So, you know, I guess they try to reel me in, you know, have him reel me in, and then find someone to replace him at the time and stuff. So it was crazy. It ended up being Norris Cole. You know what I mean? So, like I said, it was an adjustment. I think, you know, even playing in Europe and playing different things, I think it's similar to the league when it comes to like the style of play, like the run and gun. You know, they care about stats, crazy. You know what I mean? But like you said, the rules is different. Like, you know, say if me and Ryder are on the same team and I start the first quarter, he has to sit. I come out, say 5 or 6 minutes, then he comes in. Then the second and third quarter, we play together. And then the fourth quarter, we have to separate minutes. So like you said, and that's an adjustment. I'm like, man, how am I going to come out just because you want the guard to come in when I'm killing? Well, he got to play some. Fuck that. So like you said, it's an adjustment.
That's dope.
Now, talk about so you leave China and then you end up joining Ryder in Europe. So Ryder, first of all, you had already played in Turkey. What advice did you give Jay when he said that he wanted to when he said he wanted to come over to Europe? Like, what did you tell him?
Are you sure? That's exactly what I said. Are you sure you really want to do this? He's like, man, I want to try it out. I want to see, you know, what EuroLeague is like and all that. And I was like, all right, well, what teams are interested? He was like, yeah, well, Fenerbahce. I was like, well, damn, you're gonna like. That's like one like it just takes it to a whole nother extreme. It's just like having that kind of coach and, you know, that type of, you know, pressure that you have from the fans. Like, that's a lot to take in your first time going to Europe. Oh, well, you know, all the fan love and they're sending me all these videos of the crowd and all that. I say, yeah, that's the good part of it. Always other, you know what I mean? I just was trying to give him like all the stuff that could potentially happen, but he was focused on you know, definitely trying it out. His mind was made up already, but hearing his, you know, how he acted and his reactions to certain things that, you know, he wasn't used to with, you know, roommates and things like that. That was, you know, not knowing that, you know, they're flying private and all that. He's like, man, what the, you know what I mean? Like, he said, I get to the hotel and they giving them keys for roommates. He said, what is this? Hearing his reactions and seeing how he deals with things is funny because all the stuff I would complain to him about, you know, my earlier years in Europe, and he hits me with the, oh, it's not that bad. You can get through it. Basketball, and now every time,
bro, positive vibes.
I told you, like, man, you never told me it was like this. I told you this from day one. So it's definitely funny now hearing his how he's reacting to everything happening.
That's what's up. What was life like in Turkey for you, Jay? You being out there and now playing for Fenerbahce, one of the best teams in EuroLeague. What was that whole experience like for you?
Well, one, it started off crazy because of like how even preseason was. Like we had 8 games in a row.
Yeah, man.
In a row. Like, and then going from a different country, and then, you know, one of them being, you know, Zadar, Croatia, where I was talking to Kyle and, you know, trying to get advice for a short amount of time too. Like, I was just like, and, you know, and how everything just kind of changed. Like, I was just like, I never had got off a plane and played the same day, ever. You know what I mean? And like you had to play like at a certain type of level. And it was crazy because like there was just certain, and another thing is I never had a season that long. So like you can have like 2 months of like everything's fire, and then even signing, I didn't know I was playing in 2 different leagues either. I thought it was only EuroLeague, like, you know what I mean? So yeah, is it my fault a little bit, but also it could have been my agent's fault for not telling me like the exact type of thing. Oh, I didn't know you had to play with a different basketball, which, you know, shoot or shoot, but it's still a difference. You know, and they have 2 EuroLeague games and then 2 Turkish League games, and then you rolling, and then you have the country game, and then, well, I don't know how it is for you guys, but then some guys, like 2 guys, have to sit out each. You know, for having too many foreigners. So I'm like, yo, I'm rolling, I'm good. And then one of the times my parents came, and it was my time, whatever, and they was like, yo, sorry, a couple guys already sat out. It's your go. You have to, you know what I mean? So it was just certain things. I'm like, yo, my parents, they saw me play, obviously, but, you know, to hear them say that, yo, you have to sit out just because of this the rotation is just something that I never really, you know, heard of. And, yeah, I mean, of course it's an adjustment. Istanbul, though, is a beautiful city, even though we were on the Asian side, but I mean, it's a beautiful city. People are great, great places to eat and things like that to do. But yeah, I never, like I said, us and Cheska was going back and forth, you know, with wins and like, you know what I mean? And
both buzzer beater wins that year, right?
You said, what'd you say?
I said we had both had buzzer beater wins that year, right? I think you beat us there, and then we beat you guys. We beat you guys there with buzzer beater.
The Colo and then Melly, yeah. And like I said, those games were crazy, and just to see of all the winning that we did, if we lost any game, it's like the worst thing ever. And I'm like, and I had to tell people, like, yo, chill. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we lost to Maccabi Tel Aviv at their place. You know, we just didn't have it going. Yeah, everyone started going crazy. And I'm just like, like I said, I've never seen that, especially if you're winning so much.
Right.
So, like you said, it's just certain adjustments like that, which is tough. And like you said, the coach is a different animal, like Hall of Famer. But like I said, I've done with coaches like that, so that wasn't much of an issue. But it doesn't help as well. But overall, I mean, it was an interesting experience. You know, we get to the EuroLeague Championship and ended up losing, but I don't think it was in our favor to win anyway, because I think they wanted my mans to go out on top. But
So talk about that. Talk about playing, you know, firsthand, seeing Luka Doncic up close and in that championship game. And, you know, because Fenner won the championship the year before, right? They was trying to go back to back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I didn't know that the game was in Turkey, in Istanbul.
Yeah.
Which knowing how the Final Four is, that's a huge thing to have it hosting in there. But like you said, this is I'm only being told this right in the playoffs. They're like, oh yeah, we won it, but we was in Istanbul. I'm like, it's a big difference. Oh yeah. So I mean, going back to China and in here, it's like, you know, one of the games I think we beat Madrid, it was at home, like during regular season, and he had like 13 points or whatever. You know what I mean? But he led the team in scoring compared to, you know, what he's doing now in the league. It's just, I can see the potential and see the skill level. I think was really separate. Where I really saw him was EuroBasket, because it was in Istanbul. And when they won the championship, I saw him, all right, yeah, this is, because like I said, he might be a different, you know, style of play in EuroLeague, but then when I seen him in EuroBasket, they played a little different. The one coach was the coach of the Suns. You see him spread out, and now you see him now. You see how he has that confidence being that young and being able to stretch the floor and pretty much do anything he wants in this style of basketball in the NBA now.
When you came out for you know, the EuroLeague Championship game, were you like, yo, this is crazy, like as far as fan wise, atmosphere? Were you think that was like possibly the best basketball atmosphere you ever played in?
I would say for sure. You know, I've been, you know, in Eastern Conference Finals too, and things like that. But like I said, I think the uniqueness of the EuroLeague Final Four is of having, you know, the one game and then advance. You know what I mean? So I think for sure having that type of level of uncertainty of like which team can advance, you know, win or go home type thing, I think is incredible. And like I said, I mean, our fans were crazy, you know, during those times, and just to see everyone kind of come together all in one. I know it's unfortunate, you know, of everything going on during this pandemic for it to, you know, everything to be, you know, postponed or canceled or stuff like that. But yeah, that was definitely one in the record books of just how everything was going and that whole weekend.
You mentioned it a little bit, but talk about the Fenerbahce fans and, you know, just the love that they showed you while you was there, and just that whole atmosphere of, like, you know, every game, every EuroLeague game playing in front of those fans.
Man, they live and die yellow, man, for sure. I mean, they on the streets, they're, you know, wherever, and like I said, I mean, it's a winning culture. I can only imagine how things went this year, or how the season went. But, you know, love the guys, love the fans. You know, I had great teammates, you know, with Gigi and Melly and Brad and Nunley and Bobby, who's, you know, and all those guys with, you know, Jan, and brought me in with you know, great things as well too. So I think they have a lot of passion, just like everybody. It's just taken in certain contexts at times. You know, you can win 10 in a row, you lose one, and stuff is crazy. So like I said, I can't imagine how it was this year with the squad. But like I said, it's all love, regardless of you know, us winning the championship that year.
Let's go. JT, we got something in common, man.
What's that?
He said, we both uncles, man.
For sure.
Yeah,
I had to think, I'm not, hold on.
Which way you gonna take this?
Where that was going. I'm like, hold on, my beard is coming.
Yeah, I had to scare you real quick, but, you know, we both uncles, man, and, you know, I remember talking to Ryan before a few times, and he's like, you know, a couple of times he was lonely being overseas, so I'm going to convert it back over to you, Rod. What's the feeling like having your family out there and, you know, having your daughter out there with you and her going to your games and having re-upped your games and all that? Like, what's that feeling like for you?
It's an amazing feeling, and it's night and day as far as the mental aspect of it, because you after practice, nothing's worse than going home to a empty apartment. You gotta cook your own food. You're gonna end up running through everything on Netflix, nothing to watch. You played every video game, and it takes boredom to another level. And it's just like, can you handle that for a whole year? And then with having, you know, your family there and Bella there and Ree, for me, it was just like, all right, I'm ready to get out the gym. I had a reason to be happy to, you know, go home, and it just made everything go by faster. You know what I mean? You have people to talk to, hang out with, and it just makes the atmosphere, you know, a lot better.
All right. JT, how's that feeling with you, man, being an uncle, man? I know for me, it's like it's the best thing ever, man. I'm all smiles all the time, even the messing around in the background.
For sure, it's a blessing, man. I think it's also more of a blessing for me just to know how he is, and with Ryan, you know, maturing even more, and to see how he is with, you know, his wife and Bells, and for me, I would say it's good practice. You know, I don't think I was ready to be a father, you know, back then, but now, you know, being older, you know, mature and being an uncle, man, it just humbles you in a certain type of way where you're like, all right, you know what, if you're trying to get as good as these guys got it, you know, you gotta put your mind right in the right path. So It's been a blessing, man, to see. When I first, like I said, I wasn't there when she was born, but then to meet her last summer and her being like a peanut in my arm, and now her, walking and almost talking and almost turning one in a week or so, man, it's great. It's great to see the development and future pros in the future.
Yeah, I saw your video the other day, her scoring that basket.
For sure.
That was dope.
So Jay, you had a chance to go out to Israel this year as well, right?
For sure, yeah. I would say the crazy part of even this whole pandemic is, one, I was in China before the pandemic started. Then I go to Israel during, it was a break right after Chinese New Year. And then I come home, then I signed to go to Spain, and then the pandemic gets hit hard over there. Then I come back to the U.S., and then the pandemic gets hard in the U.S.
Yeah, it was
So
you.
it's like,
Following you, bro, right?
yeah, right.
You're the reoccurring theme.
Even though I wasn't in China when it happened, so I didn't prolong it. But yeah, Israel, Tel Aviv, man, is beautiful. I know Ryan was in Halon, and great city, right on the beach, warm weather. And like I said, it's a great opportunity to come, see him and the family, and see him play a game as well too. And like I said, I hadn't been there. Well, I had been there when we played Maccabi, but had some time to reflect as well, and actually see that type of basketball. Basketball is such a small world, man. When you start seeing the guys on different teams. Ryder had Joe Alexander on his team who was in the draft with me. You know what I mean? So it's just crazy how basketball just goes in circles and things like that.
So circle back a little bit. You mentioned you were in China earlier this year as well, and if I'm not mistaken, you were playing for Stephon Marbury, right?
I was, yes.
What was that like? How was that relationship, and what was it like playing under him?
It was interesting. I mean, it's a guy that, like you said, has tons of respect, globally in basketball, and I feel like just as every player, we all go through certain type of things in our life. I think his was a little bit more publicized just because of him being the icon of Coney Island and him playing for the Knicks and having all those things. And it was a blessing to be able to play for him as a coach. It is his first year as a coach. I think everyone, the first of everything, regardless if you have all the confidence in the world, you have to learn from your first experiences. I think we all been first in some type of things, and we all learned that we're so much better now than we once were, whatever we started. So for that being said, there was expectations, we did the expectations and stuff like that. There are times that, guys aren't going to see, eye to eye on certain things, just like everything. But overall, like I said, I was just blessed in the opportunity. And, who knows what's going to happen with, the situation in the CBA. I know they were trying to renew it and they postponed it again. So see what happens with that.
Yeah, for sure. Y'all both accomplished so much on and off the court. I know, we're all boys. We talked about so many different things about life off the court, and couple of our next steps. And I know, you guys started the Scoring Factory. So Ryan, tell us a little bit more about that and why you wanted to get into that.
One of the main things I wanted to do, after my basketball career was done, is to help the youth develop, basketball skills. And I'm at a fine line right now to determining if I want to, just handle workouts and develop kids or get into coaching. I mean, after this year, I kind of had more of the coaching mentality aspect of things, and I see basketball, in a different light now because I'm understanding more of it, the X's and O's, more or less the business of it. And I'm stuck in the middle of debating whether I want to, just continue developing kids' skills, or dive in head first and get into full on coaching and have accessibility to all of it. And first stepping stone on that, I was always telling Jay that we need to start something where in our area kids can have an opportunity and a place to work out. We always would go to, either if it was pushing the limit, or we would just go to the YMCA and just get our workouts in and play. And if we kind of gave kids a platform and a place to go to develop your skills, play pickup games, and get better, and just have a family atmosphere tied to it, why not? If it benefited us and it's gonna help kids develop basketball skills, stop playing video games and getting out the house, why not? And it just seemed like the right time to do it now that I'm on the back end of my career.
So
Hey, talk about with this, like you said, you being able to be home during this time, which probably what you normally wouldn't have been. Talk about the opportunity to go back to Lenape and having them honor you during that ceremony, and how special that was to not only you but also your family as well.
It was a blessing. I don't think that I ever thought it might possibly happen. I can honestly say, just to be real, since we are being real, there was some things that I didn't agree with Lenape and how things were done. Even, I tried to give back, because everyone always thinks, why do I always do stuff at Ryder? Why don't I ever do stuff at Lenape? So it was never me. It was just something that we could never come up to an agreement with, and things like that. So like I said, I think time heals all wounds, and I'm just blessed, for it to be there. It's going to be there, forever and ever and stuff like that. So it's a blessing to know of the development. And like I said, I didn't become the man I am today until probably college. But having Coach Lang and so much winning and being a focal part of a special year that we had in 2004, it all came together. So it was just good to see familiar faces. Obviously, I wanted to kind of do it, a little bit more planned, because people wanted to come out from different places and things like that. But it is what it is, and I'm blessed for the opportunity.
So, and I know for you, Ryan, I know you just got inducted to the Ryder Hall of Fame. So congratulations to that, man. That's a big deal. So what was that feeling like, man?
It was definitely a dream come true, especially 2 years before, sitting in the audience, watching it happen to Jay, and that's when it kind of hit me. I mean, growing up, you really don't look as far ahead as to, am I going to be, in the Hall of Fame? Is my stuff going to, get hung up in the rafters? And once I saw, it happen to Jay, I'm like, all right, well, this is something, I hope, that is going to happen for me also. I feel like my resume and my accolades throughout college, were enough to, be in the talks of it. I, wasn't fortunate enough to get drafted, but I felt like what I've done those 4 years, spoke enough, and I had got the call that year to get inducted, and I was, it was a dream come true.
It's amazing, man. What's up,
man? All right, man. We don't want to hold y'all up too long. I guess the last thing we can just jump into, what advice both you guys give the young players, kids that have participated in your program and camps, and just young guys coming up in South Jersey. What advice would you give them as they're moving on in life?
One thing I can always say is just that there's always hope. We're living examples of, and then even Dwan as well too, dreams coming true. We all wanted to be able to become pros and being able to do the game that we love. We met so many people. We traveled to so many places, different countries and things like that. And we honestly, just don't do it for the notoriety and stuff. We actually want to give back. And Kyle said before, once we saw guys doing it for us, if we ever had the platform to do it, we wanted to give it back as well. And I think that's the most important thing. There's so many people out there that are trying to take parents' money and things like that. But, anytime I usually raise money, I just put it back into something so it's going to give back to the other person. It's never just going in my pocket. It's always going to someone else. So, can be able to help them out too. So being able to stay locked in, be close to your family, limit your friends and stay away from the leeches and stuff like that, have that hard-working mentality. God forbid anything happens to a player athletically, they need to be smart on their academics, doing homework and tests and being at school and on time and things like that. I always try to preach that to kids as well as we have our college degrees to be able to go back to after life, after basketball. And like you said, it's earned, not given. So this is not easy things that you have to do. There are going to be some hills, there are going to be some valleys and things like that. But at the end of the day, if you have guys that are willing to take out their time out of their busy schedules to teach guys these things on and off the court, man, these kids nowadays need to absorb it like sponges. And each day is going by is one day for a kid to maybe lose their dream, man. So if they stay focused and have a plan, sky's the limit.
That's real.
You ain't going after that, Rod?
I'm sitting over here like he just everything I had in my head mentally. He's like, all right, next. I'm like, all right, you know what?
Like certain things when you said, I'm like, dang, he answered everything for me.
I'm sitting here like, all right, there's one left. I mean, touche. Like.
Right.
That's what happens when you roll it. It comes from the heart, man.
Exactly, man.
For me, mainly is that just everybody's path is different, and whether it's succeeding in a job, at a normal job, whether it's being an athlete, work hard and just challenge yourself to be the best at whatever you're doing.
Definitely. I think one of the purpose of us even want to do this podcast is show that, like Jay said before, this basketball takes us all over the world, and it comes full circle. And now all of us, I know I'm retired. I know y'all still playing, but we're all, towards the end. I want y'all to be able to play forever, but it's not going, not always going to happen that way. I guess the best thing that we could say that nobody can take away from us is the legacy that we left. So I just want to definitely say, I appreciate you guys for all that y'all do, and for being brothers to us and all that, man. So just gotta keep it going, and hopefully we got a good Thompson Hines collabs coming soon.
For sure. Definitely gotta link up after this quarantine, man. For sure.
Definitely, man. Definitely.
Yeah.
We're gonna be here for a while. So.
Bills on the
All right, fellas.
Appreciate y'all having us on here. Man.
Yes, sir,
definitely,
man. Big time. This is really dope.
Man. Definitely, man. Definitely, man. I appreciate y'all, man. Y'all take care. Y'all stay safe. And like I said, we link up. As soon as this is over.
For sure.
Sounds good, man.
God bless.
All right, same.
Yes, sir.
All right, see y'all.
All right, fellas.